I had my IIFT interview on 4th April and here is the transcript. I'm so sorry, but this will be a bit long video of 6 to 7 minutes. As we know that IIFT is one of the top B schools and its batch of 2023 witnessed an average CTC of around 29 LPA with top recruiters like McKinsey, JP Morgan, Amazon and Microsoft. Coming to the interview, my interview began with an extempore speech. The panel gave me the topic Big Data Analytics versus Intuition. I was given 2 minutes in total to think and speak. Luckily, this was a familiar topic and I studied the role of logic versus intuition in the decision making process earlier. In fact, I used a direct quote from the Civil Service essay paper 2023, that is, visionary decision making happens at the intersection of intuition and logic. So those who wrote the civil services examination, just a demonstration that your UPSC knowledge bank can give you an edge if you know how to leverage it. And a pro tip to anybody preparing for their IIFT interviews, please set a timer of 2 minutes on your screen before you begin your speech to structure your speech and utilize all 120 seconds. After the impromptu speech, the first panelist started with the normal barrage of questions. He first asked me to introduce myself. I gave a very well prepared answer because this question is the most expected question and has been asked in almost all interviews I gave. I told them about my schooling, my engineering, my job in the finance industry, my journey in the civil service examination and my hobbies of reading and music. Next question. You first did engineering, then a job in finance and then wrote the civil services examination and now you aspire to do an MBA. Please explain why so many pivots are there and why do you want to do an MBA? Sir, I did my BTech because I loved physics and also because apart from doing BTech, I found no other alternative to living with dignity and respect. But when I finally entered college, I came to know that jobs in the non-computer science branch do not pay well. Thus, I prepared for jobs in the corporate sector during campus placement. And I did a job in finance because it paid really well. After that, I wrote the civil services examination because I had an interest in the national and international affairs and also because I wanted to rise quickly in the social hierarchy. And since I could not clear the civil services examination, I am doing an MBA to bounce back from all these setbacks and revive my dying professional career. दोस्तों, अगर इतना सच इंटरव्यू में शुरू में ही बोल दिया होता तो मेरा इंटरव्यू शुरू होने से पहले ही खत्म हो जाता. इसलिए मैंने इसका एक डिप्लोमेटिक आंसर पहले से ही तैयार किया हुआ था जो मैंने वहां बोला. I replied, Sir, though I had tremendous opportunity to grow in engineering, I was more interested in business and public policy. I was luckily selected during campus placement as a financial analyst, which gave me exposure to the study of international affairs. This exposure combined with my interest in public policy gave me the confidence to write the civil services examination. But despite placing my best foot forward, unfortunately, the civil services examination didn't work out. With the increasing opportunity cost, I realized that there are other opportunities for me to build a fulfilling career that also allows me to be a part of the national growth story. Based on the reading of the MBA curriculum, I found that the academic rigor of an MBA classroom is very similar to the rigor of the civil services preparation. I need an MBA to learn business problem solving, build a peer network that can help me build a career at the intersection of finance and public policy. ये जो लास्ट लाइन मैंने बोली, it is just a fancy way of saying कि मुझे कंसल्टेंसी में जाना है. Next question. You worked in finance. Please explain what is derivatives trading to a non-technical person. ये फाइनेंस का एक बेसिक क्वेश्चन है. I first explained what is a derivative and I explained using an example of Nifty futures. Next question. What are the factors that an investor must look into while trading in derivatives? I gave a few examples like the monetary stance of the central bank of the country, high frequency indicators like the CPI, WPI, PPI and other employment data. And lastly, I mentioned about impact of geopolitical events on the markets and trade like the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. मैंने intentionally इस war को mention किया as a hook so that the panelists next asks me about this topic which I was very well prepared with, but unfortunately he passed on the baton to the next member of the panel, a lady in her mid 40s. So she asked me, you spent 5 years in the civil services preparation and I'm sure you have grown as an individual. Still, if you don't make it to any of the top B schools, what is a plan B? So I informed the panel at this point of time that I already have converted 3 of the schools, SP Jain, Narsi Mohanji and IMT Ghaziabad, out of which I plan to join SP Jain if nothing else works out. This naturally led to a follow-up question that why are you applying to IIFT when already admitted to SP Jain? I told her, ma'am, the IIFT program in international business is my first preference because of its greater alignment with my interest in geopolitics and public policy. मैं ये हर इंटरव्यू में करता हूँ, बार बार पब्लिक पॉलिसी और जियोपॉलिटिक्स को मेंशन करता हूँ जिससे कि इसकी तरफ इंटरव्यू जा सके, because this is one of my strongest areas of discussion. Well, यहाँ पे panel 2 is on to panel 3 member. He was a male and he began with the question that you mentioned in your introduction that you love to read. Do you also read newspapers? To which I replied in a yes. He then asked me to tell him about the trade agreements that India recently signed. I told him that India signed trade deals with Australia, UAE and a group of 4 European nations. It is called European Free Trade Association, and also India is in advanced stages of trade negotiations with the UK and EU. He then asked me about the performance of past trade deals which India has made. I started with the fact that India has a net trade deficit of around 1.5% of its GDP. And to substantiate this, I quoted an example of India-South Korea FTA, which India signed in 2009, but still India has a trade deficit with South Korea. And I said that we need more indigenous innovation and manufacturing to make our exports globally competitive. And I also gave names of a few schemes like the semiconductor manufacturing under the PLI and allowing of private players in the space and defense manufacturing industry. And here my interview concluded. In conclusion, I would say that the interview was short and lasted only around 16 to 17 minutes. They asked a lot of questions about finance due to my work X and international affairs because I mentioned it in my application form and because I wrote the civil services examination. So be prepared very well with any expected questions from your work X and each word you mention in your application form. Also, do prepare an answer for why do you want to join IIFT specifically, and here please take help from your mentors or any of the alumni from this school. Secondly guys, XLRI का result आने वाला है and XLRI is one of my best calls. I just pray to Krishna कि अगर मैं deserve करता हूँ तो दे देना और जो अभी तक आपने दिया है उसके लिए thank you. Lastly guys, मुझे वीडियो बनाना अभी आता नहीं है, मैं ये PowerPoint पे बना रहा हूँ. इसके बावजूद अगर आप यहाँ तक साथ हैं इसके लिए दिल से thank you. If you want to be a part of the journey of a guy bouncing back after a gap of 5 years and making his way to a top B school, then please do consider subscribing. Thank you and bye bye.